Hello guys, it's me again, Insane Gorilla, and welcome back to my channel. Sorry if you hear any rustling. It's my grandparents' dogs. Or one of them. Don't lie down. So yeah, welcome to What If Belle Was a Warlock from Destiny, if you've not already gathered. So, just to give you a quick notice, if you're wondering where the hell is What If Belle Was the Witch King, just to let you know, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for that one just for now, just for a minute or two, because to me the third part was not great. It wasn't the best that I've ever done. If you don't agree with that, please let me know. But hey, it's me, so how's that? Oh well. So yeah, just to let you all know, obviously, yes, the What If Belle Was the Witch King is on hold just for a minute, just for a few days until I figure out how I want to actually proceed with the redo of the third part. What if Oster was the son of a void dragon? I kind of have to put that on hold as well, so yeah. It's nothing wrong with me. I haven't gone off of them or anything. I just don't particularly know how to sort that one out. I may have to redo that entirely and, well, either that or just shuffle things around. You decide. Please, I actually am asking for help with the Oster one. Now, some of you are asking about if you guys are also wondering about the what if Deku was a sister of battle from Warhammer. Yeah. I have a plan-ish for that. So yeah, I do have a plan for it. I'm just trying to work out how I actually want to put it and all that. But if you guys got any ideas for it, please let me know. But anyway, this is What If Belle Crenell was a warden. Not warden. That's also in the works, I'm afraid. So yeah. This is What If Belle Was a Warlock. So where we last left off, Belle was training the other warlock who got very badly disrespected by Bet and Eyes von Stein. If you haven't seen that part, I suggest you go and watch part 2. No, that was part 3, sorry. That was part 3. So, yeah. So, where I'm going to pick this up from is when, after the 10 years have passed, I know this is one hell of a time skip, but I'm not particularly going to go through everything that Belle has done with this new warlock. I'll just summarise it for you. He's trained her on how to control the void and the void element and the fire element, but she is not ready for the void caller because of fears that she has. So Belle spent the last 10 years trying to train her up, get her confidence up, so she could become a void caller, or storm caller, sorry. So he has spent 10 years training her. On the other end of the spectrum with Bet and with Bet and Eyes, they spent 5 years cleaning the streets of the last city. and then spent the 5 years in prison. So, as soon as they get out of the prison, their reputation still sucks. Because, well, again, watch part 3 to figure out why. Their reputation sucks, but Belle's is still intact. So, yeah. Over the 10 years, Belle has been, well, angry, depressed, sad, all of the negative emotions due to the loss of, well, the orphanage he worked at with Eyes, and the loss of a girl he thought of as a little sister, Lily. So we're starting this off when Eyes and Vet reunite with, well, Belle, with them going to combat the, with Vex's mind on, well, not really a Vex mind, really, it's a Vex gatekeeper. There's a quest from the speaker saying he needs a certain Vex head, aka a head of a, well, Gate Lord, to help him do some more research on the Vex, to try and understand their teleportation systems. As well, they do go to the Vex on their ship here, as they see a bunch of Vex, and if you're wondering where they are, they're on Venus. And if you're wondering why Venus, well, that's where you first fight your first Gate Lord in the campaign. As they go through the Vex, all the Vex hobgoblins, their usual grunts, a few Minotaurs, well, a bunch of Minotaurs here and there, everything underneath the sun that you can even think about. You name it, they went through it. Or try to if they didn't die and get immediately resurrected by their ghosts. As well, everything goes a little bit bellies up when they find the Gate Lord. This is actually from the perspective of Bet. So yes, he sees the Gate Lord, and well, when the Gate Lord is summoned, he puts himself together just like the campaign. As well, they fight it. Eyes, Bet, and Belle talk. Well, Bet and Eyes do. Belle sort of shut himself off from them because, well, obviously he's still rather annoyed even after 10 years, because every time he hears of them he feels nothing but annoyance with them. But he does wish of a fresh restart, a start to where they barely knew each other and were just Bet, Eyes, and Belle. And while he's thinking of this, they destroy the, well, Vex Gate Lord. But little does Bet not, well, what these two know that, well, all three of them don't know, is that a certain wish dragon felt Belle's wish, and it was a powerful wish, because he wished so damn hard that he could restart their friendship. So, Revan concocted a little plan for this wish to happen. He rigged the warp drive, it's a warp drive, so or a space drive, whatever. I'll call it a warp drive because I want to. As Riven concocts a little plan to get them to reunite with their friendship. So when they get back on their ship and start heading back to the city, last city on Earth, Riven's little plan for this wish to come true activates. As soon as they jump, the wish device that was planted on the ship detonates, destabilizing the warp core, or the warp drive core. As well, they go spiraling out of control. Belle sends a Mayday to the last city, giving them exactly what happened before all transmissions were cut. With Zavala, Ikora, and Cade. Okay, they still hate Eyes and Bet for what they did, but they're still Guardians, so they still have to worry. As they all look to what happened, they see that something exploded on their vessel, but they do not know what exploded or how it exploded. So they start coming up with ideas. Cade thinks that it was just a malfunction, and it's just virtually just torn them into like several dozen pieces. But he also makes a crack joke saying that they've survived worse. With Ikora basically Ikora's thinking comes up with ideas saying that perhaps it was a fallen bomb that had been latched to the ship, with Zavala shooting down the idea, saying that the Fallen are good, but they aren't stupid. Well, the Fallen are good when it comes to intelligence, but they're not stupid enough to plant a bomb on a Guardian ship, especially when they can tell there's a bomb on board, because the Fallen bombs aren't exactly small. They can be a little bit big, and plus when their ship comes down to them, their ship has the habit of doing cartwheels and spins, so they would be able to get glimpses of a bomb. So it must have been planted before they left. This idea is sort of getting nods from Cade and Ikora. Cade still wants to go out there and see for himself, to see if he can find a ship to even remotely assemble to what the hell happened. With Ikora disagreeing with Zavala taking more of a neutral side. He agrees that they need to find out what happened to their best warlock and somewhat of a best hunter and titan, considering after what happened, he still thinks that they shouldn't be even called a hunter and a titan anymore. So, yeah. But on the other hand of the spectrum, in a far-off universe, or a distant reality, and an alternate timeline, 3 people wake up in 3 different areas. A boy with white hair and red eyes opens his eyes to see, well, a woman and a man staring down at him, saying, "Welcome to the world, my son." The same goes for, well, a boy with grey hair, well, a girl with yellow hair and golden yellow eyes, as she sees a man with brown hair and a woman with yellow hair, as they say, "Welcome to the world, my little princess." And finally, a man with grey hair and green eyes awakens to see a woman, and she cries, saying, "Welcome to the village, my son. Welcome to your home, to your new home. Instead of within me, you are now out of me, and you can now see the world through your own very eyes." As they all give them the names of Bet, Eyes, and Bell. Bell Cornell, Eyes Wallenstein, and Bet whatever the hell his name was. For years, these 3 would live in their own separate portions of the world, with neither of them having any idea of what happened to them. And all 3 of them have lost memories. Eyes, Bet, and Bell. All of them have lost their memories of being guardians. All of them have lost their memories of their powers. All of them have lost the memory of how to use and properly scrutinise their power. Well, not scrutinise, use their powers effectively. Bet learns early on that he is much tougher than his compatriots, being a human-dog hybrid. I can't really remember what race he's actually called. So yeah. And his village lived in relative peace. They never had a strong warrior to defend them, because they've never needed one. So to find that a boy is the toughest son bitch around and can stand more than just a few little punches. He can hold all the punches and deliver them just as hard and just as fast back. So they call him the village titan. On the other end of the spectrum, Eyes Wallenstein lives her own life till, well, obviously the Black Dragon. She slowly realises that she is more keen to hunting, to finding prey, scouting for it, living low and methodically. As she is hunting the most dangerous prey around, a minotaur, a monster from the dungeon of Arario. Now she goes there, and she kills the minotaur. But this Minotaur is a bit different. It doesn't go poof. They only go poof if they're in the dungeon. They don't go poof when they're out of it. Because when they're out of that dungeon, they're virtually living in the wild, so they eat ordinary things. Meat for carnivores, vegetables, well, greenery if they're herbivores. So, yeah. This Minotaur was a newbie. He was a babe, just a baby, basically, in the eyes of its elders. Because it was learning on how to survive, how to eat, and how to fight. It goes off on its own too far and ends up dead. Eyes then realizes that she is so attuned to hunting that she starts to think, I must have got this from my father. He'll be so proud, along with my mum. Both of them not really realizing that they're actually using abilities and their strengths from their, guardian years. Belle, on the other hand, Belle became a very powerful mage early on. In his eyes, he wasn't drawn to combat arenas, he wasn't drawn to hunting for his village. No, he was drawn to the library. As any good mage would say, you can often find about your element and your abilities if you read. And Belle goes and reads. Within 5 years, he has read the entire library up and down. And back to front. And by the way, that's when he was around about 5 years old and he was learning how to read along with all the others. Guess, eyes hunting at 5 years old? Jesus. Bet getting into fights at 5 years old. I got into a fight when I was 5 years old. Ended up coming back with a broken nose. Mainly because I wasn't really resisting, I was just, yeah, okay then, just get it over with. So yeah. But Belle, people started calling Belle the Professor. Because he could actually come up with things that he shouldn't be able to come up with at his age. He's virtually a little Stephen Hawkins. May he rest in peace. Because he ain't dumb. He ain't a little shit who's small. No, he is a certified genius / a certified mage, or as he calls himself, also not realising that this is actually from his former career as a warlock of the Vanguard. He calls himself Belle the Warlock, or just Warlock. He doesn't say his real name, he just calls himself the Warlock. But then his village comes under attack 5 days later, after he calls himself the Warlock. And his skills with magic were put to the test. 20 mages and 145 ordinary soldiers from a land far off attack the city, with them all chanting the words of their kingdom. And the kingdom's name was not is. It was just a name. I think I'm just going to call them the Roman Empire, because hell, the Romans were pretty powerful back in their day. Yeah, just roll with it. They were known as the Roman Kingdom, also known as the Roman Empire, but I'm going to keep it as the Roman Empire, just for simplicity's sake. As their army of 430 foot soldiers and 25 mages stand outside the gates of Bel's hometown. And Bel, with all of his might, all of his strength, summons void, fire, and lightning. The void powers hit the front lines, sucking in 225 troops, ordinary troops. The fire engulfing 50 of them, but the lightning, all the lightning. I smell roasted Roman for tea tonight. Because not only did the Roman foot soldiers get struck, but the electricity was that strong it passed through 325. The 25 are the mages. The only people to survive were only a few, a fraction of their power. Just a single squad. So they drop their arms and they flee. They flee into the mountains and into the next forest over. As they say, we will be back with a bigger army than before. Now, by the time Bel finished his little, test, he did realise that he didn't even need to start, calling on incantations. He could just do it outright. Even though he had no idea on how to do it outright, it just flowed through him like it was a part of him all along. So he goes back into the village and sees the damage that the Roman Empire had caused. He was in awe of the damage, and he was saddened because there were still civilians who died. As he looks at the dead villagers, he kneels beside one of them and rolls them over. And be aware, this is a full-grown adult here, so here. He looks at this man and sees that he was holding something. As he bends down and picks up what he was holding, he realises that it was a newborn. As this newborn, unfortunately, was dead. Having a full-grown adult land on top of you to protect you would crush you. Even if you are a baby, it will crush you. So Bel digs a hole for both the father and the child, until the man's mistress turns up. with sadness in her eyes as Bel drags the man as best as he could for his little body of 10 years old. Well, yeah. Not of 10, of 5 years old. Approaching 6. Tries his best to drag the body into the hole. Eventually the man's wife and other people grabbed the body and lowered it into the hole, into its new home, along with the infant. As everybody starts singing prayers and wishes that their loved ones find their place within the stars. With Bel helping with reconstruction, it took 10 years. When Bel started, he was 6. 10 years, he's now 11. No. Now he's 16, sorry. As Bel then decides, after 5 more attacks from the Roman Empire and him swiftly destroying them, but on the last attack, his mother and father were killed. They were crushed underneath a catapult that smashed into their home. The one right in front of you, the one that's got the roof on it still, with holes in that poking out. Yeah, that was Bel's home. As Bel leaves his village, walking away, as they told him if he ever wants to come back to them, he is always welcome. No matter what, he is the warlock of their village. And nothing will ever change that. But going back to when everybody was 5 before they turned to 16, Ais Stein became a fierce hunter. Good with a bow and arrow, but also swift with a knife. She was a prodigy with a knife and a single bow and arrow. She stuck to a crossbow. First, an ordinary bow and arrow. Then she went to a crossbow. She became one of the most fearsome hunters out there. Able to go toe to toe with an elder minotaur and a giant spider named Niazra. The spider's name was Ziagra, a fearsome poison spider. She was she could literally dwarf a small village like this. She was also one of the most strongest creatures within the land where Ais Wallenstein was. At the age of 9, she took on the Elder Minotaur. And also at the age of 9, her parents left to deal with the Black Dragon problem with Zeus and Athena, both being part of their familiars and all that. And if you also haven't realised, Bel is also part of Zeus and Athena's familiars. Again, listen to the lore. Anyway, as she then hears about the Black Dragon incident with her mother and father dying. And at the age of 16, she left the village after fighting the Spider Queen, Niavra, or Siafra, or whatever her name was again. Niavra, that's her name. It's Niavra. With Niavra and eyes eyeing each other. 1 minute. Where was I? Oh yes. With eyes and Niavra eyeing each other up and down. Niavra looking for weaknesses. Eyes doing the same for Niavra. Eventually, after an intense stare down, Niavra and Eyes started to fight. Niavra, being strong, cunning, gets Eyes a few times with her poison, and Eyes gets her twice. Once in the eye, once in one of her eyes, and once in her back side. With Niavra cursing her, saying, "A insect managed to hit me and not ensnare itself on my poison." How interesting. She then rushes forward, with Eyes rushing at her. Eyes pulling out another arrow and firing it again, hitting Niavra in one of her joints of her legs. She stumbles a bit, still moving forward with her remaining legs. Then that was heard as Niavra looks at one of her legs as it falls, with her eyes widening as she looks to Eyes. The Eyes has a blade out in the open. Niavra wonders when Eyes got that weapon, and where did she get it from? As Eyes turns round, she pulls back the arrow. This is before she got the crossbow. As a golden aura starts shining off of the bow and the arrow, as Niavra looks in stunned amazement that human has magic as potent as this, as she is feeling now. But she puts that thought to the back of her mind as she rushes back at Eyes, with Eyes letting loose, not realizing the power behind her, quiver, as she looses the arrow, as it makes a sonic boom as it flies. It goes so fast it passes through Niavra, tearing out one more of her eyes as it goes through the back of her head, destroying her brain and slamming into a wall as Niavra crumbles to the floor in a heap. Body strewn bare, all remaining 7 legs spread apart as finally her sight leaves her, as all she sees is Eyes walking away with a broken bow and broken arrows. The final word she says, such power. The day that Bet leaves, at the age of 8, he had to deal with an opponent. A boy, two years his senior, picks a fight with him, claiming that to be the strongest in their village. Bet, being 8 years old, was not impressed. With Bet, he sees this 10-year-old, a member of his own race, but he also knows that he is someone you can always pick on. No matter how hard he says he is tougher, he realizes too late that Bet is far stronger than him. Bet is not really much of a quiet boy, but he's not exactly the go out and say, I'm the be-all, must-all. He is the strongest in their clan, but nobody's allowed to admit it just yet. The boy challenges Bet to a duel. The first one to drop must conceive defeat and leave the village. Bet, knowing of his strength, knows that he can easily win, but wants a challenge, so he says, sure. Try not to cry too bad when you have to leave. Being a little bit arrogant and cocky, but not to the extent of where he would be nothing but useless bravado. As finally, the boy charges at him, with Bet dodging, weaving, moving, being swift on his feet, knowing when to strike and when not to strike. The boy then makes a critical error, lunges out too far. That's when Bet strikes. Grabbing the boy's wrist, pulling back as hard as he could, he sends the boy flying through the air. Then jumps. Then down kicks him. Then full-on roundhouse kicks him downwards. Or axe kicks him down. As his body hits the floor with an imprint of Bet's foot in his face. Or on his face. As Bet would just say, pathetic. You're 2 years older than my senior, and yet an 8-year-old could deal with you. You lost. Leave the village. With the boy getting up, saying a deal was a deal. But mark my words, boy, I will be back, and you will suffer my wrath. Bet, not really caring, just says, whenever your wrath grows a backbone and comes back for me, you'll find that I've already been long gone by then. Now leave. As Bet walks away, with the man walking the other way too. years go past. 16 to where now Bet is 16. As Bet looks out into the forest, sniffing the air. Yawning to himself as he thinks to himself, how boring has this been? I feel like I am not meant to be here, but yet I feel something that keeps me here. How in the world would I be able to explain this to my parents? How would I? As Bet would look on into the distance, as a woman with the same race as him but with pink hair would walk up to him, and she would just say, Bet, you're Bet, right? With Bet looking at her as he looks her up and down, sizing her up if there's a fight, as he would just say, yes, that's my name. As she would say, it's so good of an honour to finally meet you. I am the daughter of the chieftain of the clan, or of this village. With Bet's eyes widening as he stutters, what would the chieftain's daughter be doing here? Out here on the walls, near a loner like myself. As she would say, because, Bet, I have been asked to choose a suitable husband for the future. My grandparents' dog's having a nightmare, apparently. Anyway, as she says, I have been tasked by my father to find a suitable husband for myself to lead the village alongside me. With Bet putting his hand up saying, and let me guess, you have chosen me. With her shaking her head saying, no, I haven't chosen you, but I would like to get to know you before I choose a husband. I know you're a loner, and I know you prefer to be on your own. For some odd reason, I also have a feeling there's something else out there that you're meant to truly find. Find yourself, truly. Along with two others, I can feel it. I've also been trained to be sort of a shaman too for our village. With Bet looking at her as he finally says, so, what have the spirits told you, oh great shaman? With the girl looking at him saying, laughing at him, then says, don't call me a grand shaman or great grand shaman. I am not that old. I'm only 17. The spirits have told me that there are two others, just like you, alone. Both of them have lost parents. They will not know anything of parenthood, of having parents. Considering they both lost them at unfair times. One lost their parents due to war. Another lost their parents due to a great black beast known as the Black Dragon. You still have your parents here, and they can tell that you're not meant to belong here, or meant to belong somewhere else. So, as the daughter of the chieftain, I ask you this question. Where do your loyalties lie? With your village or to a quest? With Bet looking at her, looking down at his feet, then up at his hands, as he can feel a strange energy writhing around in his hand, as he would just look at her again, with her looking at him, with him saying, my loyalty lies everywhere. I have to be loyal to someone, but the one thing I choose to be loyal to are my friends. And if these two have known pain, then it's my job to be there for them as a friend and make them become part of a family, just like I have been granted. When he looks at the girl, she smiles, saying, excellent. Then I have chosen my husband, and I need to choose my husband. None of these other males here in our village have the courage, strength, or wisdom to move on in their lives. They're too unstruck on traditions, too blind. But when they see me, they see a pedestal that they can never reach. So, Bet, what would you say about becoming my husband, but still being able to leave the village to find these lost souls and to become a great chieftain within your own right? With Bet being stunned at this proposal, as he looks to his hand again, the energy starts writhing faster as he picks up the scent of, well, a scent that belongs to her, as he can smell it, that she truly means what she means. Every word of hers that she had just spoken was true as a shaman, plus a leader. He looks at her one last time, then back to his hands, as it becomes too unbearable, as he says, I will accept your wishes, but not as a shaman, not as the chieftain's daughter, but as my wife. As he would look at her with her eyes sparkling, and she would say, I never thought I would hear that from anyone, especially coming from you, Bet. As Bet kneels down to her, she would kneel down to him, as in tradition to their culture. When a female finds a male worthy of her, they both kneel down in front of each other. They lock hands, and if their tails can manage it, they lock their tails in the sign of union as one. And the final part to truly cement the union, a kiss. Both of them must kiss each other for 2 minutes to hold the union true. If either one of them breaks the kiss before the 2 minutes, then the union was never meant to be. They stay like that for longer than 2 minutes. They stay there for free, melding into each other. The priest, the shamaness, the daughter of the chieftain, getting a vision in the middle of the longest kiss she would forever to exist. She sees a vision of the future. A woman, blue hair, armor of a hunter, Bet, head to toe covered in armor, with his tail wagging. A boy, white hair, red eyes, putting on a helmet, along with Bet and I and this woman. As the boy who put on the silver helmet would start floating, as his garments, his gauntlets, everything that he was wearing would float with him, as lightning, fire, and a purple substance would flow from him. As she would see it, Bet holding a hammer of gold with fire coming off of it. The girl with blue hair holding a bow and arrow, or holding a crossbow with a sword. This crossbow and sword glowing golden red. With them saying, union with unions, we will protect our families. We will protect our friends. For the city, we will fight. Rise, guardians, rise as night and day, protectors of the innocent, slayers of the guilty. We will defend our homes, just like we did back then. With the chieftain's daughter and Bet finally opening their eyes after a long kiss, as they separate with a little bit of saliva bridging itself between each other. Their hands they release each other's hands, but their tails stay joined. As another tradition, they must be joined for a few hours or a full day to truly symbolize the bond. And if someone disagrees, they must fight the male for the female, for the female's approval. When they both leave the walls, the citizens see the priestess and the daughter of the chieftain linked tails with Bet. Everybody bows before them both. Sign of respect and fear. Respect out of the priestess and fear of Bet. As the priestess's father, the chieftain, would walk out of his home to see that his daughter had her tail linked with the strongest boy in his little village, with him saying to himself, "My daughter has found a worthy partner. I will allow her to leave with him if she so deems or requires. I know her visions can come true." With him walking downstairs from his balcony and walks to his daughter and Bet, with Bet and her standing side by side, as they both bow before the chieftain, as the chieftain says, "Yuma, my precious daughter, You have found a worthy partner. I fully give you my permission to marry. I also give you my full permission to leave the village if you so deem. I see your, visions as an omen. I've heard about the other vision you had, about the great war that comes for us all. In 5 years, I will be leaving the village. I will be taking our village to a city with Horario, where Horario is. I'll be going there with the whole village. We'll create our own village within Horario. It's where we will live. If there's a forest nearby, we will be using that to train, to hunt for this new foe that nobody has seen yet. We will find it, we will attack it, and we will kill it. With Horario's help, it will be glorious. And it will show that our clan / village is nothing to be scoffed at. Bet, my boy, I give you permission to have your way with my daughter. I would love to have grandkids someday. With Yuma smacking her father across the head, saying, "Father, I don't think my husband needs to know about having sex just yet. Leave it for a few years. See if we fully can comprehend each other. And we will see. I understand, my daughter. Please, Bet, please look after her." "I will, Your Majesty. I will, sir. I will look after her. You have my word as the Titan of the village." As a golden hammer with flames appears on his hand in front of the entire village, which even catches Bet off guard, not realizing that this is his Sunbreaker ability. As everybody bows to Bet and the priestess, or the shamaness, as they both bow towards everybody, as Bet just humbly says, "Do not bow to me. I should be the one bowing to you all." In humbleness and humility, the village is great when it lives by its own rules. Let no city, village, or town tell us how we should be living. We live as one people, one mind, one purpose. But when that purpose changes, we all have to make our worthy sacrifices. I promise to you, my people, if the time comes for me to sacrifice, I will sacrifice myself for your protection. No questions asked. I'll be the Titan that stops the village from being broken. Any damage that this village takes, the Titan will prepare the walls for a fight. No enemy will break its walls. Not realizing that it's the same words that Savala told him years ago when he was a Titan of the Vanguard. Eventually, him and Yuma leave the village, making their way to Horario. on the opposite side, where Eyes was. After Eyes took down the spider, Neamvra, she left the village, heading for Aravio, seeking adventure, seeking new prey, something stronger than her, but also following the footsteps of her parents, finding where they went and how to deal with the Black Dragon, and to find a group to join. She left with a friend of hers, her teacher, Arkan. He was the one who taught her everything. Everything to do with hunting, everything to do with firing a bow and arrow, including a crossbow. He even taught her swordplay. They make their way to Aravio through the Snowdrift Mountains. The mountains right behind the city, right behind this town basically, or a little village. They walk towards the Snowdrift Mountains to go to Aravio, as they hear it's the best place to find adventure, challenges, and last but not least, friends. As they leave, the village gives her a goodbye present. A crossbow that has the habit of never breaking, and a new bow, one made out of a rare metal that is classed to be indestructible, but also very dangerous to anyone who doesn't wield it with the proper respect. As they give it to Eyes, she takes it gladly. And the sword, she looks, as they call it, the hunter's best friend, in a pinch. As she calls it, Centaur, the blade of silence. For the silent hunter gets the prey. A Tau reference, if you've ever heard it, from Warhammer. As she leaves, her friend leaves with her through the through the Snowstream Mountains. They leave, with the snow falling around them. Eyes and Arkan create a fire to light their way through the mountains, through the Snowdrift Mountains, till they reach a fortress. A fortress filled with dwarves who defend the mountains from any unwelcome visitors. They live in the Snowdrift Mountains, keeping an eye out on the village to make sure it's safe and to protect it from any unwelcome monsters from the forests or even from the Snowdrift Mountains themselves. As they watch Eyes and Arkan walk through the fortress, a dwarf stops them as he just shouts, saying, "Hey, the Snowdrift Mountains are under lockdown for a few days. due to a massive amounts of bandit activity on the opposite side of the fortress. So if you go there, be wary. You're going to have to stay here for a few days until the dwarf army itself appears, because only the dwarves can deal with them at the minute. With eyes not having time for this, she walks forward, saying, "I'm the best archer you can ever have. I'll snipe them away. I'll blow them away with ease." As she walks forth, with Arkan walking behind her, as the dwarf merchant who they were talking to, yes, he was a merchant, shouts, "Wait, you can't do this. The patrols will kill you, thinking that you're another bandit." Those eyes would look at him, saying they would feel that would be wrong to attack me. As she would continue walking forth with Arkan, as they would start to subtly clean out the bandits. Eventually, after 3 whole months, they would clean out the bandits and walk forth near a bright green jungle. The bright greenery fascinated eyes, being the first time to see this much green out of her, well, home. But that's actually where I've got to leave it, guys, because, well, I've just got somebody waving their finger at me saying, "Come on, I've got to go home." So, peace. Hope you actually like it.